Mr. Kihara, I think starting off, I'll just throw this conversation to you. You can set the grounds for us here today. How do you assess, when you look at the achievements of I&M in its inaugural, looking at the past 50 years, how would you assess that?
Thanks, Fiona. I think we've had a very interesting journey. To actually consider that we've been around for 50 years, and have expanded our footprint to sit in 5 jurisdictions. I would say it has been an amazing journey. We have had an opportunity to impact lives in multiple locations. We've had, obviously, challenges over that entire period. But the fact that we're here today and growing stronger, it just means that we really have been more than equal to the challenge. And we hope to do this for another 50 years.
Yes, and Mark, to bring into the conversation, we've seen over the years there has been a changing landscape. So many factors, especially looking here in Sub-Saharan Africa, we are importing a lot of what is happening in the external world. How has everything that is happening within the macroeconomic landscape changed the strategy, or how would you define the current strategy when you look at Bank One?
Yeah, thank you very much, Fiona. I think, to be honest, Sub-Saharan Africa is one of the most exciting regions in the world today. And when we certainly look at it from Mauritius, we look at, I'm not saying they're not challenges, I'm not saying, inflation is not a challenge, etc. Debt is a challenge, but the underlying growth that is available in Sub-Saharan Africa, you look at the population growth that's projected in Sub-Saharan Africa over the next, to the end of the century. From that basis, we see huge opportunities to leverage what we would call the Mauritian advantage. I mean, Mauritius is a relatively small island off the coast of Sub-Saharan Africa, but we have strong, stable government, strong economy, investment grade ratings, and we're an international financial center. And using those Mauritian advantages, we are really excited about working with customers in Sub-Saharan Africa, particularly other banks and corporates, to service their needs, be that in the form of hard currency facilities, syndicated loans, trade. But it's a really exciting time. I mean, I think if I remember my facts correctly, Sub-Saharan Africa has a population of around 1.4 billion people now. And by the middle of the century, which is around the corner, it'll be 2 billion people. And by the end of the century, it'll be 3 billion people. And Bank One and Mauritius itself want to be part of that growth and find a place to support that growth and support people in Sub-Saharan Africa.
Yeah, Mark, just also do talk to us about adaptability. And I think Kihara mentioned it slightly when you're looking at the last couple of years and operating today within the financial space. The landscape is completely different. And now you're talking about tapping into the untapped people, reaching also more people actually. So that would also mean adapting to what will be coming in future. So talk to us about adaptability and how you're integrating that into the strategy.
Yeah, I mean, if you talk about it, adaptability, I mean, you look, there isn't a single country. Sub-Saharan Africa isn't a single country. It's a multiple of different countries, and each country is at a different stage of development and growth, etc. So the number one rule of adaptability is, to learn the markets that you're looking to go into. And what we do is, we definitely look to hire people to join our team who have great technical skills and actually know their markets. And that's how we get closer to our markets and adapt to our markets. Bank One currently now has 11 different nationalities working in it. And I think, that gives it a real strength in as far as, enables us to really understand our markets. But adaptability also, can reflect things like technology, and there's significant changes taking place, have already taken place, and are going to take place over the next 5, 10, 15 years. And that is why Bank One, working with I&M and Kihara and I, are very tied at the hip as far as the development of our businesses. That's why Bank One has really looked to invest heavily in technology, new internet banking platforms. We have a financial app that we'll be looking to take cross-border for some of our cross-border customers. So adaptability is understanding your markets, understanding the people in the markets, and doing the best you can around that. But adaptability is also around technology and looking to use the best technology to offer fantastic services to our clients.
Yeah, I think, Kihara, I'll just bring into the conversation. He's touched on great points, and we'll also come on some of the technological advances and how they're really being integrated into the financing system. Just do talk to us about diversification. I&M is one of the strongest bank when you look at its portfolio across the markets here in Africa. But just to talk to us about diversification and the expansion that has been experienced over the years.
So, Fiona, indeed, we are actually very good at, shall we say, innovating as a group. And part of that, of course, comes from the diversification that we see within our ranks as staff. And it helps that we are actually present in 5 different jurisdictions. So we are obviously from our home market in Kenya. We have expanded into Mauritius, which was actually our first stop. We have a joint venture in Bank One. We've got Tanzania. We are present in Rwanda, where actually we are the oldest bank in Rwanda. And we are also in Uganda. So that gives us a very rich pool of talent to really tap and say, how do we actually bring that diversity to bear in the way we can innovate for our customers? Now, in terms of diversification, you also then have to look at the kind of business that we do. Our roots really are in the corporate space, and we have grown a franchise that is actually very strong in the corporate space over the years, and we have used the strengths really from that to then build linkages into other customer segments, which include, of course, the business banking or SME space, the personal banking space, and in particular the premium banking space as well, because we really do look at the ecosystems that surround our customers to say, how do we serve them very effectively? That helps us with the diversification. So not only are we looking at the customer segments themselves, but also within the customer segments to say, how do we make sure that we're actually relevant to the communities in which we operate? So as a country, where is actually the growth coming from? What are the government priorities in each country, and how can we actually support growth in all of those areas? And we look at, therefore, the social priorities of the day, the economic priorities of the day, and say, how do we really be part of that growth story? Indeed, we say that we are partners for growth for all our stakeholders. So we really take all of this into account when we're formulating our strategic approach to engaging with our customers in our different markets.
Yeah, I mean, digitization, double-edged sword, if we may say it. On one hand, it provides numerous opportunities, but also on the other hand, we're seeing some of the disruptions that it's bringing, especially within the financing space when you're looking at the cyber threats. So what is being done to ensure that security of your clients, of your clientele is within the emerging technologies are being put in place? You touched on innovation. So what is really being done to just bring about the security and the assurance to clients?
So the starting point is to appreciate that technology really is an enabler. And throughout its history, banking has always adopted technology really to become more efficient at serving customers. I&M has been actually one of the banking groups that has embraced technology right from the get-go. And we pride ourselves on being innovative. We understand that technology is also going to come with a widening of the threat surface, if you like, in terms of how vulnerabilities might impact you. So we take due care then in terms of how we can build our ability to ward off those threats. We talked earlier about adaptability. One key aspect of being adaptable is really to say, how do we make sure that we are resilient as an organization? And this is a key pillar in our strategy. We make sure that we are thinking through the risks that we face as a business, and in particular then looking at the threats that are posed, or the risks that are posed by the adoption of technology. So if you look at our Imara strategy, which is the current name we have for our strategy, and we're in our second iteration of that, coming to an end this year, one key area we have really underpinned our strategy on is the digital space. Adoption of digital then means that you're going to be taking on new ways of working, you're going to be taking on new products, and that means that you will also be exposing yourself really to the possibility of attacks from much wider places, because it's no longer just a local threat, it's also a global threat, and you're going to get attacked from anywhere in the world. So our systems, our networks have to be resilient in that regard. So we take cybersecurity very, very seriously, and we have built protection systems that we keep on looking at improving to make sure that we are facing the threats of the day. It is important that we do so because our customers must feel safe when they are working with a bank to actually grow their own businesses, manage their own livelihoods and lifestyles.
Mark, to bring into the conversation, how does Bank One's strategic focus bring value to the stakeholders?
Yeah, I think, we're looking at, scale is really, our market, there are huge advantages that come from Mauritius, but our market is a relatively small one. We are 1.2 million people. Across the water, there are 1.4 billion people sitting in Sub-Saharan Africa. And that really brings scale and benefit ultimately to our shareholders. But I think, what's, certainly for Bank One, what has really strengthened our proposition is our shareholding with I&M. And the fact that I&M has a significant shareholding in Bank One means that when we service our customers, we can service our customers alongside I&M, Kenya, Rwanda, Uganda, Tanzania. And likewise, we support I&M's customers in Mauritius. And that enables our stakeholders to scale the proposition.
Thank you so much for making time to speak to us today.